Okay, I'm at this point where a lot of the times people get that little extra hole when they're making socks, when you join the picking up the stitches on one side of the heel and doing the instep stitches. So we always end up with a little hole, which is not the best thing. We can always stitch it up when we finish our knitting, but if we can avoid sewing or doing anything when we're done, we want to be done. So I'm just going to take my double pointed needle, and I'm going to pick up 2 extra stitches that in the next round, when I start my gusset decrease, I will knit together. So I'm going to pick up the stitch. So you see the strand that's here. I'm going to follow and pick up the stitches that are following that strand. And I'm just going to knit them onto my needle that has my stitches I picked up from the heel. Why? Because I want to leave all my instep stitches as just instep stitches, and these I'll have to keep note to knit together when I get around to them next row. So I'm going to knit them so as not to twist my stitches. So the first one I would knit into the back loop, and the second one I knit into the front loop, and these stitches are not twisted. And there we go. So now I'm just going to go through my instep, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm back at the point where I want to close that gap when I join my instep with my stitches that I will eventually pick up on the left side. Again, I want to see where my last row is, which this row tells me where my last row is, and I pick up the left leg and then the right leg from the stitches that are following right on that last row. And I'm just going to put them on my left needle because I want them to be part of my picked up stitches. So I'm going to start off by putting those there, and I'm going to knit them. I'm going to knit them so that they're not twisted. So I'm going to knit into the back of this one and the front of this one. So these stitches are just to close that gap, and that's done. Okay, so I'm at my gusset decrease, and a lot of the patterns have knit till 2 stitches before the end of the row, before we work on the instep stitches, work to 3 stitches before, or work to 4, whatever, however many you need to knit to before. But in the row before, I did that funny thing where I picked up the 2 stitches because I wanted to close the gap. So those are going to count as 1 stitch because I have to remember to knit those 2 together. So those, let's say my pattern said knit 4 stitches before end of row. Well, I'm going to consider that counts as 1, 2, 3, 4. So the patterns usually say knit 4 stitches before instep stitches and knit 2 together, knit 2. Well, I'm going to count that as 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to knit 2 together here. Knit 2 stitches together. And then the pattern would say knit 2. I still have 3 because I have to knit these 2 together. So I'm going to knit 1 and then knit these 2 together. And that takes care of my extra stitch and my hole and anything else that I could have had there. It's all taken care of. So from now on this side, next time I come around, I'll come to 4 stitches before, I'll knit 2 together, and then I'll just knit the 2 stitches. Now I'm on the other side, doing the other side of the gusset, and they'll say knit 2 stitches and then slip 1, knit 1, pass slip, stitch over. Well, we have to remember I have to knit these 2 stitches together first. So I'm going to go right ahead and knit those 2. Or I can do the same thing that I'm doing on this side, which is slip 1, knit 1, pass slip, stitch over. So if I'm here, sorry, I didn't get my yarn ready. So if I'm here, I'm going to slip 1, knit 1, pass slip, stitch over. So that's going to be the equivalent as if I had knit 1. So I need to knit 2, so that's 2, and then I do my gusset decrease, which is usually a slip 1, knit 1, and pass the slip stitch over. And that, from now on, every time I get to this side of my gusset, I'm going to just knit 2 and then slip one, knit one, past slip stitch over, because I've already gotten rid of that double stitch I had there. So from now on, it's easy sailing.